connection problems? What about Elizabeth? Elizabeth, are you getting me very well? Queen, respond and we proceed. Oh, it is not Elizabeth. Who is this one? I refer to you by the names you subscribe here. This is Nayama. Let me hope you are hearing the fact of it. Responded. It is enough testimony that
You're breaking.
We are proceeding with. Sure. You are getting me well? Malcolm. Okay, somebody is saying I'm breaking. Let me type just this. Yes, I'm getting me from there. I've tried just this. Are you not getting well? You're not getting me. Because we need to adjust very fast so that we don't waste time. We are not hearing you, and for me, I'm hearing you very well. Speak and I see if I can hear you. Hello, speak and see if I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay. See who's breaking.
Yes, I'm hearing you very well. Okay. Let me try to adjust the place. Are you now getting me very well here?
Yes, yes.
Which means we are going to use this place. I was trying to say that today we are continuing with our lesson of CRE. Basically, the topic is change, and our emphasis is on Abraham. That is what we covered last time, and we are not complete it. I left you with an assignment, which I believe you didn't respond to. Could it be because of lack of Bibles? Do we now have our Bibles with us? Malcolm is saying you are not. I sent you a message. You're supposed to have responded and you didn't. Do we have our Bibles with us? Malcolm, do you have a Bible with you? Queen, do you have a Bible with you? Because I had sent a message to have some Bibles. Could you have a Bible with you? You don't have Bibles, you are going to depend on mine. What I will be reading is will be taking. Shania, do you have a Bible with you? Shania, do you have a Bible with you? Great. Now that Shania is having a Bible, I'm going to request you to unmute and read for us Genesis chapter 12. Unmute and read for us Genesis chapter 12 from the first verse.
Genesis chapter 12. The heading is God's call to Abram. The Lord said to Abram, "Leave your country, your relatives, and your father's home, and go to a land that I am going to show you. I will give you many descendants and..."
Remember, we are looking at the changes that Abraham experienced. From what she has read, she said that God told Abraham to leave his country to another place. Do we detect some change there? Can we cite one change there which Abraham experienced? You can read again for those who have not heard.
Verse 1, the Lord said to Abram, "Leave your country, your relatives, and your father's home, and go to a land that I am going to show to you."
So we are seeing Abraham being instructed to leave his home and land and go to a land that God was to show to him. In brief, we see Abraham have experiencing a change in place from one place to another, from the place where he used to reside to a place where God was going to take him. Can you continue?
"I will give you many descendants, and they will become a great nation. I will bless you and make your name..."
First stop there. We are seeing God promising to give Abraham many descendants. So if we look at the changes which Abraham experienced, we see Abraham getting many descendants. Go ahead.
"I will bless you and make your name famous, so that you will be a blessing."
You can first stop there. First stop there. We are seeing Abraham becoming a source of blessing. I think that is in Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, where God said he will bless him and will be a source of blessing to all mankind. Go ahead.
"I will bless those who bless you, but I will curse those who curse you, and through you I will bless all the nations."
In other words,
When Abram
other nations. Go ahead.
When Abram was 75 years old, he started out from Haran, as the Lord had told him to do, and Lot went with him. Abram took his wife
You can first stop
Sarai.
there. First stop there. We are seeing that Abraham's original place was Haran, and he had to leave Haran to another place, which is Canaan. Lord, go ahead.
Abram took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all the wealth and all the slaves they had acquired in Haran, and they started out for the land of Canaan.
And they started
When
out
they
the land
arrived
of Canaan.
When
Go
they
ahead.
arrived in Canaan, Abram traveled through the land until he came to the sacred tree of Moreh, the holy place at Shechem.
Yes.
At that time, the Canaanites were still living in the land.
You can first
The
stop
Lord,
there. You can first stop there and move to Genesis 15. From verse 1.
God's covenant with Abraham, Genesis 15. After this, Abraham had a vision and heard the Lord say to him, "Do not be afraid, Abraham. I will shield you from danger and give you a great reward."
So what we are seeing there is that Abraham wrote a covenant with God. That is the Abrahamic covenant, which was an agreement which renewed the relationship between man and God. That is, after the disobedience of man, that is in Genesis 3, God's relationship with man got worsened. But later, it was renewed by signing the Abrahamic covenant. Go ahead.
But Abraham answered, "Sovereign Lord, what good will your reward do to me, since I have no children? My only heir is Eliezer of Damascus. You have given me no children, and one of my slaves will inherit my property." Then he heard the Lord speaking to him again. "This slave Eliezer will not inherit your property. Your own son will be your heir." The Lord took him outside and said, "Look at the sky and try to count the stars.
So
You
we
will have as many.
Abraham didn't have a son. Good. So first stop there. We are seeing Abraham being a son. At first, Abraham had believed that Eliezer of Damascus would be his heir, but they are promising his son to be named Isaac alone. Can we go ahead?
Abraham put his trust in the Lord, and because of this, the Lord was pleased with him and accepted him.
First stop there. We are seeing Abraham putting his trust in the Lord. That Abraham experienced another change of trusting the Lord. At first, Abraham didn't have trust in the Lord. And later, Lord began trusting the Lord, which is good. Go ahead.
Then the Lord said to him, "I am the Lord who led."
After your reading, Queen will proceed with chapter 17. Finish up with that verse you are reading.
Then the Lord said to him, "I am the Lord who led you out of Ur in Babylonia to give you this land as your own." But Abram asked, "Sovereign Lord, how can I know that it will be mine?" He answered, "Bring me a cow, a goat, and a ram, each of them 3 years old, and a dove and a pigeon."
Right?
Abram.
The first of there. Continue with the 17. I had quick and mute. So you read for us chapter 17 from verse 5. Genesis 17, verse 5. Shania, you read since Queen cannot unmute.
Chapter 17.
Yes.
From verse 5.
Yes.
Your name will no longer be Abram, but Abraham.
First there. Remember, we are looking at the changes which Abraham experienced. So here we are seeing that at first he was Abraham, but in Genesis chapter 17, verse 5, we are seeing that his name will no longer be Abraham, but it will change to Abraham. Good, you can go ahead.
Because I am making you the ancestor of many nations. I will give you many descendants, and some of them will be kings. You will have so many descendants that they will become nations.
Wonderful, wonderful. You can stop there, then I have some explanation. Some good reading. Thank you, thank you. So given what Shania has read, you'll find that Abraham experienced so many changes. You agree with me that when you open the beginning part of Genesis 12, you'll see that Abraham was the ancestor of the Israelites who was called by God. He experienced a lot of changes after that. At first, we see Abraham as a moon worshiper. We see Abraham as a nomad polytheist, somebody who was worshiping so many gods. He would move from one place to another, worshiping many gods. That's why we are calling him a nomad polytheist. Nomad meaning he used to move from one place to another. Then polytheist meaning somebody who was worshiping gods. But after accepting what is called, he encountered a number of changes. One of the changes is that Abraham experienced a change from Haran to Canaan. We are seeing that too, Abraham experienced a change in name from Abraham to Abraham. Then 3, we are seeing that Abraham was promised a son, Isaac, and later on at an old age, Abraham got a son, the names of Isaac. We are seeing that Abraham is changing from worshiping so many gods, worshiping one true God. So that is a change from a polytheism to monotheism. Polytheism, worshiping of so many gods, then monotheism, meaning the worshiping of one God, monotheism, one. We are seeing that Abraham signed a covenant with God, Abrahamic covenant. That covenant was which opened the gates of reconciliation between man and God. Genesis chapter 3, his relationship with God had deteriorated because of eating the forbidden fruit. They were no longer friends. But after that, the friendship was renewed as a result of signing the covenant. We also see that Abraham got assured of divine protection. When you read Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, you see God promising Abraham protection in the land where he was taking him. Still, when you read further, you will find that Abraham was told to sacrifice his son Isaac. But in the process of sacrificing, the lamb was presented. So Abraham changed from human sacrifice to offering sacrifices of animals. For example, he sacrificed a lamb instead of his son Isaac. And that is the basis in Adua celebration. They were commemorating the animals. It was in memory of what Abraham did. When God told Abraham to sacrifice his son, remember God the son at an old age. One son like this, but God told him to sacrifice the son. And Abraham accepted. In Abraham accepting to offer his only son, we are seeing Abraham having trust, having faith in God. That this is the God who gave me the son. He will give me another son. He was ready to sacrifice the son. The point of concern there is Abraham tested his faith practically. When you read further, you'll find out that Abraham started building worshiping places, building altars for the worship of God. That is also another change. Having looked at that, it takes us to the question I gave you, the assignment which I gave you, which you did not respond to. The assignment was the lessons Christians learn from Abraham. Do you still remember how we said in handling questions of lessons? Tanya, do you know how we handle questions of lessons? One minute or less respond. Something. Unmute and say something. Somebody is saying my audio is breaking. Good. But it's like Mark getting it very well. I was trying to say that we looked at how we answer questions of lessons. And I was asking you, do you still remember the approach to answering questions of lessons? Good. Now, based on what we have just learned about Abraham, can each of you formulate 2 lessons Christians learned from the story of Abraham? And as you type in your answer, I'll be awarding marks. The question is, what lessons do Abraham? I say Abraham, this is just like the Christians of today, them. You would say Abraham built place of worship for Christians learn to build places of worship. Somebody saying Abraham was honest, therefore. Malcolm, you are saying I learned. But because in our question we are having in writing our answers, we say Christian. We all know very well that you are a Christian. And respond in the question. Getting I'm still waiting for responses. Those of say Shada is having 2 10. Malcolm, I'm still marking. You can put in your responses. Abraham was kind to people, so Christian kind to people. Good. I'm waiting for your answers still. I give 2 for each answer. Each answer takes 2 marks. So far you have got 2 because you have given 1 answer. Each answer takes 2. So I need 5 from you. Answer. Abraham was doing so good. Malcolm, you now have 4 out of 10. Shani, I'm waiting from you. Let me hope that delays because you are typing in your answers. You are left with 5 minutes, then I give you my. You have 5 more minutes. Then I give you my responses. Shania is saying Abraham was obedient, so Christians want to be obedient. Could this be the same as Shania? That is 4 out of 10 to Sheila. You can go ahead. I'm waiting for Shania's response. Hope the responses are coming. Shania, you are delaying, pushing your answer. Sheila Abraham was patient, so Christians learn to be patient. Sheila is now having 6 out of 10. Queen is saying Abraham was faithful, so Christians learn to be faithful. Queen, you have just started, 2 out of 10. You are left with 2 minutes, and I close the exercise. One minute to go. Malcolm is saying Christians forgive others, so people, Christians learn to forgive. Good. Malcolm is having 6. Queen is saying, Sheila is saying, Abraham was hardworking, so Christians want to be hardworking. So Sheila is having 8. Queen Abraham was trustworthy, good. Queen is now having 4 out of 10. Now let us listen to the responses I have here. We would have given some of the following answers. You would have said Abraham was obedient to God. Abraham was obedient to God. So Christians learn to be obedient to God. Abraham was obedient to God, so Christians learn to be obedient to God. You'd say Abraham served God with all his might. Abraham served God with all his might and wisdom. Therefore, Christians learn to dedicate themselves to the service of the Lord. So Christians learn to dedicate themselves to the service of the Lord. You'd say Abraham was trustworthy, and indeed he trusted God, even when conditions seemed abnormal. So Christians learn to trust God and show their faith in him. You would say Abraham had hope in God. Abraham had hope in God, especially after the bright future, and especially about the bright future, and that is why he responded to the promises. Therefore, Christians learn to understand that God is a solution to all their problems. I say Christians learn to realize that God chooses anyone, irrespective of his background. Just as God chose Abraham, who was a moon worshiper. You would say Abraham faithfully worshipped God, and therefore Christians learn to worship God, their creator, at any time and in any place. You would say Abraham offered sacrifices to God at various places. So Christians learn to offer sacrifices to God. You'd say Abraham was stopped from offering a sacrifice of his son instead of a lamb which was given to him. So Christians learn to offer to God other things other than human beings. We also say Abraham promoted monotheism at the expense of polytheism. Remember, we said monotheism is the worship of one true God, and polytheism is the worship of many gods. So we say Abraham promoted monotheism. Therefore, Christians learn to promote monotheism, or Christians learn to worship one true God. We would say Abraham prayed and interceded for the sinners before God. So Christians learn to pray and intercede on behalf of others. to get forgiveness from the Lord. You would say God and Abraham made an agreement which was respected by both parties. God and Abraham made an agreement which was respected by both parties. That teaches Christians to respect agreements made with God and with fellow man. We would say Abraham was patient and he endured all the sufferings he was going through. This teaches Christians to be patient and endure suffering. When you proceed with the chapter 17, you'll see that Abraham's wife, Sarai, was taken away, but Abraham endured. Last, I would say, the story of Abraham teaches that reformation is possible. Remember, reformation is change. Teaches that reformation is possible. This is evidenced by Abraham when he changed from his past lifestyle and began following the Lord. The question we have been handling is, what lessons do Christians learn? Those of you who were not present in our last lesson, I told you that when we are handling questions of lessons, we, one, use the right tense. Two, we address the right party. In this question, we are saying, what lessons do Christians learn? But in the next exam, they will say, what lessons can Christians learn? If they say, what lessons can Christians learn? What lessons can Christians learn? We also say Christians can learn. In other words, we maintain the words in the question. If they adjust and say, what lessons can a Christian learn? What lessons can a Christian learn? Here we are dealing with a single Christian. Therefore, in our responses, we will say, a Christian can learn it too. What lessons have Christians learned? We will also say in our answers that Christians have learned too. They may say, as a Christian, what lessons did you learn? The question is about you. They are addressing you and as a Christian. Therefore, in your response, you will use the word I. As a Christian, I learn it too. In other words, my emphasis here is that when we are dealing with the questions of lessons, we maintain the tense. If they say can, we maintain can. If they say should, we maintain should. Two, we address the right party. If they say a Christian, in our answer, we say a Christian. If they say Christians, in our answer, we say Christians. If they say we also say we. What lessons do we learn? We will also say we learn too. It will be wrong for you to say I learn too when the question is what do we learn? Have we mastered those concepts I've just given you? If you have mastered them, say yes, and I take you to another package. I'm waiting for your response, then I proceed. I'm waiting for your response. If you have been hearing, type yes, then I move to something else. Great. Remember, I'm going to send you notes. I want you to read Exodus chapter 3. Somebody who has a Bible there, you can read Exodus chapter 3.
Exodus chapter 3. God calls Moses. One day while Moses was taking care of the sheep and goats of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, he led the flock across the desert and came to Sinai, the holy mountain. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him as flame coming from the middle of a bush. Moses saw that the bush was on fire, but that it was not burning up. This is strange, he thought. Why isn't the bush burning up? I will go closer and see. When the Lord saw that Moses was coming closer, he called to him from the middle of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. He answered, Yes, here I am. God said, Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, because you are standing on holy ground. I am the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Moses covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord said, I have seen how cruelly my people are being treated in Egypt. I have had them cry out to be rescued from their slave drivers. I know all about their sufferings, and so I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and to bring them out of Egypt to a spacious land, one which is rich and fertile, and in which the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites and Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites now live. I have indeed heard the cry of my people, and I see how the Egyptians are oppressing them. Now I am sending you to the king of Egypt so that you can lead my people out of his country. But Moses said to God, I am nobody. How can I go to the king and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? God answered, I will be with you, and when you bring the people out of Egypt, you will worship me on this mountain. That will be proof that I have sent you. But Moses replied, When I go to the Israelites and say to them, The Lord, the God of your ancestors sent me to you, they will ask me, What is his name? So what can I tell them? God said, I am who I am. This is what you must say to them. The one who is called I am has sent me to you. Tell
Thank
Israel.
Let's stop there. Thank you very much. According to the reading of Shania, we are looking at the changes which Moses experienced. When we look at Genesis chapter 3, we see God calling Moses and telling him that he had seen the plight under which his people were suffering as slaves in Egypt. In other words, God was ready to help the Israelites be redeemed, from suffering. And the person who was sent, first Moses had been to Egypt, and while in Egypt he had committed a sin. He had killed a Hebrew. No, he had killed an Arab merchant who was fighting with a Hebrew. So he was fearing to go there, but God gave him courage to go. So when you look at the changes which Moses experienced in the first instance, Moses' call was to introduce him to a task of rescuing God's people. That is liberating God's people. 2, Moses was brought close to God's presence. Remember how Moses saw the burning bush and he had to go nearer. So he was brought closer to God's presence. We also say Moses changed from evil ways to God's righteous ways. When he was told to remove his sandals, remember he was told that you are approaching a holy ground, to mean that a holy ground is supposed to be approached in a holy way. That is why he was told to remove the sandals. And that meant that Moses was ready to change from his ways to God's righteous ways. Then Moses showed great courage as he demanded to know God. You remember how Moses asked, "Who are you?" When they asked me, "Who are you?" What will I say? Then God told him, "I am who I am." To mean that is the God of Abraham, the God of Jacob, and the God of Isaac, the God who does not change. The point we are mastering there is that Moses was courageous enough to demand to know God. Then initially, Moses had experienced fear and therefore protested this call. He didn't want to go there. This is always the human response to resist sudden changes in lives. Whenever we are told to do something, we always resist, we always fear change, just as Moses first feared change. God had called Moses by name. Remember how we called him in Exodus chapter 3, Moses, Moses, Moses. That meant that God had wanted to establish a personal relationship with Moses before they would work together. That meant that God wanted to work with Moses as friends. And still, we see God convinced Moses to accept and later accepted to work through him in a way never known in his life. That is why we see Moses performing many miracles. The point of concern there is that Moses became a miracle performer. You remember there's so many miracles Moses performed, like he sent plagues, he was made to cross the Red Sea. Remember the use of the magic stick and all that. We see Moses was transformed into a leader, where he became the leader of the Israelites. He led them out of